Hey everyone and welcome. We are Next Level Business Advisors and this is Business Stories of Success. If you want to break through and achieve your own business success by learning from other successful business owners, you're in the right channel. For more of our content, make sure you click subscribe and don't forget the bell icon so you're the first to be notified when new videos are added. Enjoy today's video.
Hello, hello, hello. You're with Marc Adams at Next Level Business Advisors, and we're here today with Ryan Vett. He's a speaker, a consultant, and he has his own firm. It's going to be very interesting. His story of business ownership is amazing. We chatted about it already. Can't wait to share it with you. But let's start by speaking to the man. I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to say, hey, Ryan, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay. Thanks for coming aboard. Really appreciate it. So let's get right into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your business?
I think you summed it up well. I am a consultant, a speaker, and author, but it really did start with a lemonade stand back and when I grew up in the streets of Chicago, in the suburbs of Chicago. The streets of Chicago, I guess, has a different connotation. I've never said that out loud like that.
I was about to say, whoa,
Your
okay.
face said everything.
I've been watching a whole lot of Chicago PD nowadays. So when you say the
Oh,
streets of Chicago,
I did grow up in the western suburbs. Where I live in Durham now is much more treacherous than anything in Chicago that I experienced, but that's not the question you asked. So we won't go there now. But I did grow up in the suburbs of Chicago and had my lemonade stand. That's really where I got my start. And that morphed into a multinational marketing agency by the time I was 15. We ended up serving over 200 clients in 25 countries. And before I went to college, I had 13 people working with me. So that was kind of my first foray into business. And then I went on to do a series of startups. Some were successfully exited. Some still go today, but I wouldn't say they exited, but I exited my role there. And so I've done startups for many years and took all of that. And really now, after my last exit from my last startup, decided to go back full-time into consulting, which I haven't done in over a decade. But it's really where my passion is. And it's really where I love being able to be with people and listen to awesome ideas and watch them grow their business to the next level.
beautiful, beautiful. That's some story. I mean, my goodness, to have such a large business before you go to college is pretty fantastic. I'm digressing. I told you sometimes I do. Have you always had that kind of a mindset? What moved you to grow a business at such a young age?
I definitely am wired entrepreneurial. Everyone asks, did your parents teach that? And I would say they didn't teach it, but they strongly encouraged and supported it, which was a really important role. My parents were very supportive when I used all of their printer ink. When printer ink was really expensive. It's still really
I remember
expensive,
those days.
but it used to be real expensive. And you had to go to CompUSA, rest in peace. And you had to go buy that printer ink, and they ended up buying in bulk. So they've always been very supportive. And one of the things, I've always been very comfortable growing up, but there was always things that I wanted that my parents might not necessarily get me, mainly probably because it was for my own good, like a PlayStation. When the PlayStation came out, I had to buy that myself. And
Oh
they
wow.
basically encouraged me to do that. And I was not even a teenager, I don't think. And that was like one of the first things that I was like, I want that. I'm going to build a business to get that. And whether that's selling gum on a playground or t-shirts or whatever it was, I was going to get that. And so I think partly nature, partly nurture is how I became entrepreneurial. And then once you get into that rhythm, if it's for you, you love it and you want to do it over and over and over again. I've told my wife so many times I'm not going to do another startup, and she just looks at me and smiles and nods. She's like, "Yeah, right. I'll give that
It's running
another.
through those
I'll ask you
veins.
tomorrow."
It's
um,
running through the veins.
yeah, and so it is definitely a part of my nature, but my parents nurtured it in a very healthy way at a young age to make sure that everything I did had a purpose, and that it was never truly for the pursuit of money or material things. Even though at that age, PlayStation was pretty important to me.
I'm sure it was. That's funny. Uh, you probably spent more on ink than you did on that PlayStation. But in the end,
Probably true. You were probably correct.
hey,
I
when
guess
you
my
say
parents
Comp
technically owned
USA,
that PlayStation.
yeah, when you say Comp USA, you done lit a fire into some young people. 'Cause they're like, what
Hmm.
is that? And some of us older ones are like, oh, that's right. I
Oh, I
remember that.
remember that. Yeah, the
Yeah,
feel of like those metal computers, not like the
yeah,
cool
yeah,
slick Macs, but like those old metal box tower
yeah, yeah.
PCs,
Now,
gateway
see,
computers, the cow boxes. You remember
you're
those?
betraying yourself now because you look like you're 21.
I'll
But
give you
you
22, but yeah.
don't. But you don't talk like it. So, all right. So let's talk about. I like to do a little bit of bookkeeping. So the name of your company is Ryan Vet Consulting. Do I have it right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And how would someone find you if they want to learn from you, do business with you? How are you found?
You can really find me just about anywhere. Just Google Ryan Vet. I'm the only one. There is an animal hospital in Pennsylvania, also called Matthew Ryan Vet. So that comes up too. I'm
Wow.
not the animal hospital. I'm the Ryan Vet, the guy. I'm on every social channel. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. Got the blue check, so you know it's me. Twitter, Vivino, if you like wine. I'm a sommelier as a side hobby. So you can find me there. And then ryanvet.com as well.
Beautiful. RyanVet.com is the landing spot, the resting place. Awesome. So now let me ask you this question, because you've done many different businesses. So it's kind of unique amongst many of the folks that I speak to. How did you land on the specific business that you're specializing in now, your consultancy? How did you decide this is what I want to do?
I've always loved helping others. One of the other things my parents always taught me was to be a servant of others. And while serving others in consulting isn't necessarily serving, because there is, compensation exchange, I love watching and helping and giving my experience to business owners who were where I was, and hopefully preventing them from making some of the same mistakes that I made. I like to say that I paid a lot of stupid tax for things I did not know. And hopefully I can help you get those tax credits there. Not with the literal tax system, but just avoiding some of the things that common is common. And I like to take a more holistic approach, because it's not just a business and numbers, but there's people that are involved, and people are actually the most important part of my consulting that I do, and seeing how your team dynamics impact your bottom line. Because if you're not caring about the people that you're serving or the people that you serve alongside, you're not going to be successful. It doesn't matter who you are.
Nice, nice. You pay the stupid tax. I know that tax well.
Mhm.
I think
And I
that
still pay it, by the way. I'm not
don't we
immune.
all? Don't we all? The whole idea is just try to lower the taxes as much as possible, and then
Yes.
share that
Yep.
tip with somebody else. And I know
Yep.
exactly what you mean. Now, you made a statement. You said if you don't serve others properly, what have you, you will not be successful in business. So then, how do you define success? What's your definition?
Yeah, I'll back up a little bit. My life motto, I've had it for going on almost 2 decades now, actually, now that I think about it. Aging myself again. You're making me feel old.
I guess how old
But
I am. Forget about it.
21. We've already
You're too
thrown out there.
kind. I'll send a check.
Um, my life motto is to inspire others towards a positive change. And in everything that I do, that is kind of my goal. But with the motto, that's one part of it. The second part is my priorities. And my priorities, I have it written down on my desk. I have it memorized and committed to memory, but that's my faith, my family, my friends, and then everything else in that order. And what I have found is if I don't keep those priorities in check, and if those priorities don't also live up to that motto or that life goal, I'm paying a lot of stupid tax on a regular basis. And what I find is in order to serve people well, I've got to make sure that they're better having worked with me than before me. And that doesn't mean every single person that works with me is better from what the world would say. Sometimes that ends in termination or separation or anything like that, because that's the nature of business. And over my life, I've had the opportunity to be either on boards or in leadership positions where thousands of people have been at some point under my decision making, directly or indirectly. And that doesn't mean that all of them got the job that they wanted, but the goal is, did you enrich their life in the time that you had with them? And can they look back and say, what, that was a good season, even though it didn't end the way I wanted? So that's the goal, is someone better having met me than before? And I like to hope that most of the time the answer is yes, even if the end product isn't where someone wanted it to be, which is few and far between, but that's usually the question that often comes up.
Nice. I like that. So you're looking at success by how you impact people. I wrote that little statement down. Inspire others to positive change. That's beautiful. Mindset is important to me too, right? Because with the right mindset, you can make anything happen. That's what I kind of believe, for the most part. Right? I'll never be able to get into the NBA, no matter what my mindset. But for most things, I can do it. Right? I might be able to go pay a ticket to get to the game. I guess that's to the NBA mindset. So,
Yep.
but I like that. I like what you mentioned about success and how you inspire others. That's beautiful. So I would imagine, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, that you consider yourself to be a successful consultant.
I would say I try to be every day. I think success is I don't know if you can ever truly reach success. But I think it's something that you do on an ongoing basis to, again, I live more towards my priorities, making sure my priorities in check and work towards that motto. So the motto is the goalpost, if you will. And those priorities are the things that are keeping me going towards that goalpost. So I wouldn't say I have reached success. I would like to say that every day I'm trying to be as successful as possible to impact people well.
I like that. Yeah, most of the time I think success is a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to have a successful journey. It's nice, right? You're on this way to some destination. Nobody knows when it's ever going to end, but while you're there, if you can see these nice milestones being met, wow, now that's something, and that means
Yep.
that you're having this successful journey. So, what I like to do is just share with my listeners maybe one or two things that you do, and you said you do it every day to reach success, that helps you to stay on the proper course. What are some things you do to maintain success in your business or to work towards?
Yeah, I think it goes back to having a vision or a mission. It does not have to be like mine. It can be you want to, I don't know, have a yacht. I don't care. You fill in the blank. You put your vision and mission down, and then have your priorities. And priorities are something that shouldn't really change throughout the course of your life. They're different than goals. They're kind of more governing principles, right? They're the governing philosophies that no matter what happens in life, if I get the $1 million in my bank account and I want to go for 10, that doesn't impact the order that my faith, family, and friends fall in my priorities, right?
Beautiful. I like that.
And so I think keeping goals and priorities are separate because people mix those up a lot. And even coaching someone this week in a very long conversation through a job change, a very, very difficult job change with messy personal ties and everything else. I said, what are your priorities? And they're like, well, I want to make this much money and I want to work these hours. And so those are good goals. What are your priorities? And the real priorities are, I don't spend enough time with my family. I travel too much.
Right.
And so that's one of those things. And then to really answer your question, how do I stay accountable to those, right? Because you can have those on paper and that can look good or hang them on the wall, but how do I stay accountable to those? And there's really three things. It's one thing with three people. And it's a longer story, but there's always three people I keep in my life. One is mentors, people who have gone before me. Two is what I call running mates, people who are generally in the same stage of life, whether that's family stage, whether that's career stage, whether that's any sort of stage. And then people that are a few steps behind me, and those would be considered mentees or people you're coaching, however you want to define that. And I found that I learn most from the people who have are behind me, right? I am challenged most by the people who run alongside of me, and I'm directed most by the people who are a few steps ahead of me. And so those are the people that I keep in my life.
Pause for a moment because that was heavy. I really like that. So you surround yourself with this blend that keeps you in the right direction, that you can help, you can be helped, and that you can be accountable to. You gave me something to think about. I really appreciate that. I like that.
Well, good. Good.
This Mr. Vet is getting heavier and heavier. All right. I'm gonna switch topics a bit. I'm gonna turn just at an angle. We talked about the stupid tax. You said you've paid a little bit. I know I've paid a lot, but it's not about me, it's about you. Let me ask you, what's one big mistake that you've made in your business journey that you want to share with us?
Oh man, just one.
Just
we don't
one.
have enough time for them. I will give you one that was probably the catalyst or springboard over another probably decade journey to get me to where I am today. And
Yeah, I like
it was I was young, I was arrogant. One of those things have changed since, and I'm working on the other one. But I thought I had all the answers, and I had a client. And one of the interesting things starting a business as young as I did at the turn of the internet, people thought adults were on the internet and didn't realize that kids were on there too. And so I was able to start a business young on the internet, people not knowing they were dealing with a kid.
Right.
So that was an advantage in timing. But I let my pride and arrogance argue with a seasoned business individual via email, where I sent them a scathing email And I remember it as clear as day. These were back in the days of like Juno and AOL emails. Like we're talking ancient emails here.
Wow.
And I sent this scathing email, and it ate away at me. I checked and refreshed and hit that send receive button so many times, and you heard the dial up to see what that response was, and I never got one. And it wasn't that it didn't merit it. They knew that it wasn't worth responding. That was an interesting lesson in my life. I A, had no reason to write that email. B, even when things go wrong, I'm dealing with a company right now who has screwed up probably one of the worst out of any company I've ever worked with. And they're a service provider to me that I pay a very, very large sum of money to every year. They have had a security glitch. They have revealed my data to someone who wasn't allowed to see it. They prevented my business from operating for 3 days during very, very busy. I mean, we're talking about some serious issues.
Wow. Yeah.
And even in that now, if you rewind 15 years ago, I would have chewed him out. It's like, you know what, you have really, really messed up, and this is hurting my business, and we probably won't do business together, but I'm going to give you a chance, and let's figure out how we fix this now and then solve the bigger problems later. And so all that to say, my perspective has changed. Life's too short to get that. I'm trying to think of a podcast angry at people. I'll just say that. There's no reason to just blow up at somebody. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect at this, by the way. I'm not saying that I do this perfectly every time, but life's too short, and you've got one life to live, and you don't know what's going to happen when you get into that car and drive somewhere. And you don't want to leave those bad those bad experiences. Again, it goes back to, you want to leave someone better off having worked with you or for you than before. And this company is going to have some really new things to review with their security. And so that might be the best thing I leave them with, even if I do have to leave them and take a very large sum of business elsewhere. It's the single largest expense in this one business that I'm heavily invested in has a year. And they're going to lose that business. So so that email is kind of what really spurred me on to realizing that, you know what, people are precious. And that's a word we don't use a lot because it's a mushy gushy, word. But the reality is people are precious. There's two things in life that are constant: time. And last I checked on statistics, besides the fact that our life expectancy in the US is lowering, 100% of people in the US die. I think I saw that somewhere.
Yeah.
So time is
the same.
Yeah. So time is, time is constant. And the second thing is people are constant. You can't have a business without people unless you're selling to yourself, which is just idiotic. That would be the ultimate stupid tax.
Yeah. You won't be too profitable, that's for sure.
No, or very profitable, depending on who does your books. If you're doing your books, I mean.
True.
But the reality is, those are two things: time and people are constant, and that email taught me a lot about those.
That's beautiful. I like that, and I like your honest admission. Every time we speak to business owners, we find an honest admission. I kind of feel like those honest admissions where we can say what we have done wrong, what our mistakes are, our vulnerabilities, is part of what makes us great owners, of great business people. Because you have to have a level of humility to be able to say, hey, I've done this wrong, or I do this wrong, and I learn from it. And that's what we often share with others. So I really appreciate that. So I talked about what I think is important. Let me ask you, what do you think is the single most important quality needed to be successful as a business owner?
I think you need to be teachable. I really think you need to be teachable. With teachability, if that's a word. If not, it is now.
It is. Yeah, I heard it yesterday. Yes, I did.
Perfect. So it is a word.
Yes.
With teachability, there's humility, because that means that your idea is not the best idea, and you're accepting that. With teachability, there's listenability. I'm just adding ability to the end of all these words, right?
Hey, I got the hair ability for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like it. But there's this ability to listen to others and what they have to say, and but it all goes back to that first, being teachable. There's so many other things that fall behind that, and being a person of integrity is also critical. But I think integrity is, you either are a person of integrity or not. Not that you can't work on it, but you are or you're not. You make choices that are right, or you make choices that live in the really gray areas. But as far as teachability, that's something you can continually work on and refine and be held accountable to with those three people in your life. And I think that's very important.
Okay, I like that. I like that. And I think it's really important as well. I agree with you there. Now you talked about this, and I'm going to tie into this because you said when the people you run with, right? You
Mhm.
got people on your left and your right. Those are your running mates. You got people in front of you. That's your mentors, your guides, and then you got a few mentees behind you, right? Um, and you talked about being teachable, so it all ties together. So how have mentors contributed to your success in business and in life? I
I mean,
should say business.
yeah, I would say life actually first, which then impacts my business. I've been blessed with so many mentors throughout my life. People in formal mentoring relationships, like professors or teachers that are obligated or paid to care for me and take time outside of the classroom, obviously, to pour into my life, as well as people that have been very unofficial. The people that I bumped into that check in even every couple of years, but are very influential. And so the mentoring that I mentioned is definitely more structured. You have people that you can constantly go to that will pick up the phone when you call. But I think there's just a array of different types of mentors that need to pour into your life, and part of that's being teachable. I don't have many mentors from my early years. And I would argue, I actually probably was around more influential people that had the capacity and ability to mentor then than I have been more recently. But the reality is they probably didn't want to waste their time on, someone that wasn't going to be teachable and listen, didn't have that listenability or that hearability. And so I think that's an important component of it.
I like that. You just said something that's important, especially for business owners, right? If we're going to be successful, surround yourself with a mentor who can help you or a coach who can help you. But it's only going to work if you humble yourself to be taught.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
mentioned that it's the single biggest quality, being teachable. So if someone's listening to this, there's a very basic granular lesson that we can extract, right? Be teachable to be successful.
Yep.
I like that. I like that. And you kind of mentioned that nicely. I'm gonna probably steal that, the people I run with. And if you're not in one of those three categories, then I'm gonna kick you off the race. No, I'm just kidding. But I
No, then
like
you
it.
have to have cheerleaders. Just put them on the
Ah, okay.
sidelines.
Yeah, I can't imagine telling her, you're not my mentor, you're not my mentee, you're just my cheerleader. I
So
might
here's
just,
have some pom poms.
yeah. I might really get beat up. You're from the streets of Chicago. I'm from the streets of New York. I'm used to getting punched in the mouth when I was a kid. So,
Oh
all
man.
right. Okay, so let me ask you this question because you do work with a lot of business owners. What advice would you give a brand new business owner?
If it's even if it's not your first time, you think your idea is the best idea, and it's probably not. I am just going to destroy every single business owner right now. Now, does that mean that you can do it better than someone else? Absolutely. Does that mean you're the right person? It's the right time? Probably. But you have to realize, and it's hard, and I still struggle with this with some business owners, and with myself even. Um, I'm sure there's someone who's already done it. There's someone who's thought about a way to do it better, cheaper, faster. The question is, how are you going to do it the best that you can, regardless of what you do? I've owned 2 cleaning companies over the course of my life. And one of the things that I always would tell my team, and I would clean with them when businesses would first get started, is you've got to make this cleaner than your own house so you'd be comfortable to use it. And I would, when I would train people, I would say, go ahead and sit, walk into the bathroom and sit on the toilet. Not trying to be crass, I'm being serious here. And so after you clean the bathroom, sit on the toilet. You get a whole different perspective of the room and the bathroom sitting on the toilet than you do scrubbing it. Your guest or the person you're cleaning for is sitting on the toilet when they're using it. And again, not trying to be crass, but it's a very real example. And so I think, you see, I brought toilets into it, and I don't even know where we're going now with all of that. But
Now I'm literally sitting in my bathroom, looking at the wall and saying, "Okay, yeah, this is the view that somebody would get." You painted too good of a picture.
yeah, there are different things that you see that you wouldn't. And so all that to say, oh yeah, I know where I'm going with it. See, it's coming back around now. But there's a lot of people that are cleaning toilets out there. The question is, how are you the best person at cleaning toilets, and how do you find joy in your work? And I can find more joy. I still do this at home, by the way. And when we were first married, my wife's like, "Why do you do that?" We fold the little toilet paper in a tip when it's clean, because those two things. One, if you're cleaning with a group, it shows that you've been there and done that.
Yes.
And two, it's a nice little, it's like, oh, this has been clean. You feel a little bit better about the bathroom. But again, your business idea is probably not unique. It's probably not special. The question is, how are you going to make sure that you do it the best that you can and the best to your ability? And I think for a lot of business owners to hear that, they get angry. That's their first reaction. Like, no, it is the best. And it goes to being teachable again. You got to be teachable and humble, and you can make it the best. And I think that's the important takeaway.
I love that. I really do. You are a very good consultant, I can tell. Because you've given deep thought and you have the nice practical experiences that you can, illustrations even that you can paint so the person can think about it. And you are right. I hear so many people come to me with business ideas and I go, really? That's what you want to do? But it's not about what I think, it's about what you think, but not just what you think, how you can do it as good as or better than or uniquely. What's your USP, right? What's your unique selling proposition? Something that makes you different. Doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It's about how you execute what you've got. So I like that piece of advice. So new business owners, it's not the greatest idea in the world, but it's up to you as far as how far you can take it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I like it. I'm going to ask you one final question, and this one goes back to you. If you can go right back before you started I won't even say your first business. You probably would. Your first answer would be finish school. But one of your businesses, what advice would you give yourself as a new business owner? Yourself, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, I think as a business owner, it's easy to get your identity wrapped up into your business. And that is a very dangerous place to be. There are some people who have the capacity, either in the way that they've chosen to live their life or just ability, few and far between, to successfully go out of business extremely hard and be able to keep everything else in their life in order. Those people are very, very few and far between. If you read any of the memoirs from, I've got, I don't think you can see it. No, it's cut off, but my bottom shelf is full of mostly memoirs of business owners. And almost every single one of them talks about a relationship that has been fried, or something that they didn't get to do, or they missed out on their kid's life, or, whatever it is. And it goes back to those priorities, right? What is your purpose in life? It's not to make money. And if your purpose to make money in life is to make money in life, I'm sorry, you're going to always be unhappy. And we can talk about that a whole lot more. And that's another 10-hour podcast probably. But the reality is, if you understand what your priorities are and why it is you're doing what you're doing and what your goal is or what your motto is in doing all of that, you're going to be successful. Whether your bank account has $1 in it or $1 million or 10 million, whether you have, you're renting a room from somebody, or whether you've got, a 10-room house and you're renting 5 rooms to somebody else, like whatever it is, you're going to be much more fulfilled if your priorities are in line. You're following whatever that goal or vision is that you set out for yourself. And if you don't take the time to do that before you dive into your new business, your business might not fail. In fact, you might make a ton of money, but I can guarantee you will be unhappier in your life than you've ever been.
I like it. And that's so true, right? Happiness is not about the bank account.
Not at all.
It's nice to have something in the account, but it's not the thing that brings you joy. It's something else. So I really appreciate that. Hey, man, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I appreciate it. You really dropped some nuggets on us, and I promise you, I'm going to be running with a whole new pack.
That's awesome.
I really enjoyed it. And I think our listeners will too. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Look forward to watching your continued journey to success.